So hello everyone. First one, I will go through the chapter 1 first. The human sense. The foundation of sensory marketing is like human will experience the whole world through five senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, which will shape how we feel, think, and choose. So for the business, understand how these five senses work in practice is really important, since customers don't just buy product or service, they buy the experience. Customer today is different. They seek emotional, sensory satisfaction, create multi-sensory experience at every stage of the customer journey will help customer from a strong cognition and emotional connection with the product or brand. So this will influence their purchasing decision. For example, to illustrate sensory in practice, we can consider Starbucks. Like Starbucks is not defined only by coffee, but by the overall experience it creates. This reflects a strategic use of the five senses. So to satisfy the sight, the recognizable logo and warm store design build a consistent brand image. And about the smell, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee that shapes customer perception immediately given entering the store. And next is the sound. The brand carefully selected brand background music like that can enhance the atmosphere and influence the mood of the customer. Fourth one is sense by touch. Comfortable sitting, quality packaging contribute to the tactile experience of the customer. And finally, taste. Diverse flavor and customizational option that can strengthen the taste experience. So by integrating these sensory elements, Starbucks can transform a simple purchase into a meaningful and emotionally engaging brand experience. So the big idea we have to remember is about the embodiment, physical experience and sensation from using a product to how we know and feel about the product or brand in our mind and body. So that can shape our memory and future choice. So for a marketer, we need to take into account to design experience that engage all senses, creating the lasting experience and loyalty. So we're coming to the global marketing environment. So which external factor that actually shape our sensory marketing world? So we have two things, cultural value shift and digital technology. First, let's discover cultural value shift. So today, people value and lifestyle actually change and around the world, the society evolve among two dimensions. We have traditional value that change into secular rational value. Traditional values mean that people strongly respect religion, family tradition, and authority. And superior relation values mean people rely more on logic and scientific thinking, and they are less influenced by religion and traditional authority. And the next change is survival value change into self-expression value. Survival value means people prioritize the economic security, safety, stability. That will transform into self-expression value. Means people priority freedom, equality, and personal choice and quality of life. And about I society, which emphasize individualism, personalization, and self-expression in a highly connected digital world. So it will shape the cultural value shift. Cultural value shift are reshape how people want to experience the product. So how can the sensory marketing adapt this? Brand must know how to connect not just what people need, but also who they are and how they feel and what they want to express when using the product or service, and also using the multi-sensory strategy to connect the diverse cultural and personal value worldwide. So let's take a night art example. So in the past, people bought shoes mainly for the function. This reflects the survival value, but today, customers want to express who they are. This will reflect the self-expression value. Now can adapt by allowing personalization and encouraging the individuality. So it will give consumer emotional meaning, not just a product. People will feel unique and involved in the creation process. So as a result, the brand connect not only what customer need, but with who they are. We will go to the digital technology, individualistic approach that focus on how people gain power and control through digital tools. So it will shift the power from company to customer. So now it's easily to access information and share the opinion about the brand and product. Another thing, people will just the real experience share online more than what is promoted by the brand. And digital will shape how people experience attitude and shopping behavior. So when people use digital technology, it becomes part of their multi-sensory experience. How it will shape sensory marketing? Traditional ads are no longer enough. Encourage multi-sensory experience for our customer through the digital platform. For example, Sephora. We have digital technology has shifted the power from brand to customer, right? So how it can adapt? Sephora use digital tools like create interactive multi-sensory experience like virtual try-on, AR technology. Customer can see how makeup look on their face through the app. It will reflect the visual experience. And another thing, customer review and rating. Like the real user share the honest opinion that will encourage the trust and social influence. And last thing, personalized recommendation based on browsing and purchase history. This will reflect the individualized experience. Instead of only promoting the product, Sephora encourages customers to explore, test, and share. So, customers will feel more in control of their decision. They trust the peer experience more than the brand message. And digital tools like become the part of their sensory journey, seeing, interacting, imagining, and the product before the buying. So, Sephora showed that in the digital era, sensory marketing is not limited by physical store. Brand must create engaging, interactive, and personalized multi-sensory experience on digital platform. So the individualization as lifestyle is internal factor. So a society become more individualistic. People now use brand and product to express their identity and self-image that can driven by the cultural shift in the digital context. And therefore now the individualization is a new lifestyle. Let's explore three key factors in the individualized as lifestyle. So the first one, self-fulfillment is strongly related to individual quality of life and well-being that can demand for a better life. So people today care more about improving their quality of life both physically and mentally. So first thing they want to care about is their health and well-being. So people now choose what support their health, sustainability, and lifestyle like clean food, fitness, and eco-friendly service. Secondly, they qualify the consumption. So now people prefer spending money on meaningful things like yoga class or organic food instead of cheap or unnecessary stuff. So lastly, it's about the time use. Or instead of working non-stop, many choose to spend more time caring for themselves, like relaxing, meeting friends, learning new things, or something. For example, one of my friends used that they spend money on fast food and trend clothes, but now she chooses to spend more time on the yoga membership and organic food. Why? Because she wants to improve her physical and mental well-being. She believes these joys will help her live a better life, not just looking better. And she also prefers spending weekend relaxing at a wellness cafe instead of working overtime or shopping for unnecessary items. For her, health, balance, and meaningful experience are more important than cheap consumption. So we can see that today's consumer focus on self-fulfillment and quality of life. So the key insight for the marketer is people want brands that help them live better, not just sell more. That's why sensory marketing become important. Brands should create multi-sensory experience like camping, atmosphere, natural scent, healthy taste, relaxing sound, eco-friendly touch that truly support customer desire for a better lifestyle. And the next thing is identity creation. Identity creation is the process by which individuals develop a sense of who they are, including their personal belief, value, and society role. So there are three things that shape the identity creation. First is the joy consumption, eco identity tools. So brands like Nike, H&M, Apple, Zara, or certain product and service act as a symbolic content that make identity creation possible to the consumer and shape how others see it. And secondly, it's about the personal and social. Identity is formed both internally, like how people see themselves, and externally, like how they want others to see them. And the third one is the difference from others, about standing out through appearance, lifestyle, or subculture, rolling a line between themselves and the outside world to make them standing out. Example that, like a student, they wear Nike to show she's sporty and energetic. He used iPhone to show she modern and tech savvy, and she bring a reusable bottle to show that she care about the environment. So their joys are not only functional; they help build her identity. Identity creation happens when people use brand as a tool to express who they are, how they see themselves, and how they want others to see them. And they also choose certain style to the lifestyle to stand out and be different from others. So the key insight for marketing is that it's important for the brand to understand the current trend and carry symbolic value that match what customer want to become. The third factor is multisensory brand experience. People want to feel and experience brand using all five senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. So this makes their shopping and brand interaction more emotionally memorable and personal. First, we need to know that a multisensory experience sense work together. Brand, product, place, and retail space are not perceived and evaluated by just one feature. It's about the full sensory experience. And some sensory products actually require this, like brand like food or drink or perfume, that all rely heavily on multisensory appeal to make customer actually care about the brand and care about the product or service. For example, again, Starbucks, like I have told already. And the key insight here is that we need to design every brand interaction to stimulate multiple senses. It will help consumer connect emotionally and remember your brand better. Theoretical foundation. What is sensory marketing? Sensory marketing is a marketing approach that focuses on how consumer experience the brand through the sense, what they see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. For example, you don't just buy a candle for lights. You enjoy the scent, the soft glow, and the relaxing feeling it creates in your room. That's sensory marketing because the experience goes beyond the product basic function. And sensory marketing actually care about this kind of experience. And now let's see why the scents are important in shaping this experience. Everything we buy and use that can stimulate our sense. Sensory input affect our preference, what we like, emotion, like how we feel about the brand, and decision, what we choose to buy. So, Look at this chart. Krishna has developed this model to show that how the sense actually engage our mind and create the perception, and then it will shape our thoughts, judgment, and feeling, which is the cognition and the emotion, and therefore, from that it will lead to the specific behavior like loyalty to the brand. For example, of the sensory signature, the startup of sound of Netflix, it is a sensory signature for hearing. Even without seeing the logo, people can recognize the brand through the ear. And the smooth, cool metallic touch of the MacBook from Apple is a sensory signature for touch. Even with closed eye, people can recognize the brand. So these examples show how brands use the sense to connect with us emotionally and mentally. But why these sense affect our body so deeply in the mind? So let's look at the body and the mind connection through SOR model. So for the environmental psychology, the stimuli from the environment like color or music will affect the customer perception like cognition and emotion, that which lead to the behavior, approach or avoidance. So the retailer aims to design environment that stimulate approach behavior. This is how SOR model works. Next we'll explore the framework that's showing how the sensory cue affect shopping decision behavior. So the core logic is that human perception is holistic, meaning the five senses do not work in isolation, but interact to create a single and unified experience. It will like constantly influence each other, like the sound, the sight, the smell, the touch, the taste. They affect to shape the overall store atmosphere. So we have affective and cognitive. Affective means this can create the positive feeling and satisfaction. Cognitive, it will building the mental association and brand meaning. The ultimate goal is to trigger specific shopping behavior, like customers stay longer or customer more based on sensory tempo. For example, you walk into a clothing store, the lighting is too bright, the music is loud and random, and the store smells slightly stuffy. The fabric feels soft, feel rough when you touch it, so you feel uncomfortable. That's the affective, and you think the brand is low quality. It's a cognitive. So now you will live without buying. That's your behavior. So, however, if the lighting were warm, the music pleasant, and the scent fresh, the fabric soft, you will feel relaxed, perceive higher quality, and be more likely to stay and purchase. So, this clearly shows that sensory cue that shape the emotion and perception would then influence your behavior. Next thing, we're talking about the three marketing approach. First, transaction marketing is the traditional way. It will focus on selling goods in a single transaction. So that's why we're basing on the 4Bs. The producer will push the product through mass marketing. And in this marketing approach, the customer is seen as a passive customer and treated as a mass market. And the goal is to of this approach is to attract new buyer by highlighting the product feature and price. But however, the limitation of this approach is that it ignores the emotion in individual need and sensory experience of the customer. So it will lead to the need of more personal and long-term customer focus, which will raise to relationship marketing. And this one will focus on long-term loyalty, building relationship with customer, and based on two-way communication between active buyer and seller. And it used in both B2B and B2C market. The goal is to keep customer through CRM and personalized marketing. And the customer are now involved and will be loyal over time. However, the relationship marketing is actually lack of attention and emotional and sensory experience. So the sensory marketing emerged to fill the gap. Sensory marketing like actually to stimulate the five senses of the customer, and based on the psychological and body cognition theory, they actually form the experience and it create a deep and personal experience, both physical and digital environment. That I have said already. So we can see that transaction marketing and relationship marketing actually build the value, provide the price and relationship. Sensory marketing later on add the emotional and sensory depth that helping the brand stand out. Next thing, we'll go through the role of party in sensory marketing, which is the firm and the individual to illustrate through this chart. The individual is the customer, and in sensory marketing they receive customer value, customer experience, and brand image. So about the customer values, in sensory marketing, customer aren't just passive buyer. They co-create value with company by using product or service in a way that is support their identity. So the company act as a value promoter, like the product for right product or service that offering experience, information of the product that help individual find meaning or identity. Next, customer experience. Service process company always create customer experience, whether company plan them or not, but the intentional experience will better engage the customer in the service. The customer value drive from the consumption experience of the actual product. That great experience will involve both practical product, better benefit, and emotional sensory element that will all create the overall sensory experience. And experience might differ from customer to customer concerning the association and the background, emotion, and interpretation. Next thing, we're talking about brand as image. The process here is developed step by step. It begins with recognizing and categorizing the brand where the customer identify it and position it with a product category, comparing it with competitor and forming initial association. Then coming to the feeling the brand through sensory and emotional experience. Through sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, customers start to emotionally experience the brand rather than just recognize it, evaluate it. As these experiences accumulate, the customer moves to interacting the brand into their self-identity. They combine their thought and feeling to form a coherent brand concept and begin to see how the brand fits their lifestyle or personally. And next thing is make the brand significant. The brand becoming personal value, serving as a symbol of value, status, and identity. Finally, customer connect with the brand to create personality, attachment, emotional bond from attitude strengthen, and relationship with the brand become more personal and long-term. Now for the firm side, service process. So the firm will provide the service process, and in this process, the individual will participate as an active co-producer through different kind of interaction in the process. Companies do not create value only, they create value and experience through interaction with the customer. The 5 senses help the customer feel the service differently. Example, like you in a hotel lobby, the hotel prepares soft background music, a pleasant scent, and a comfortable waiting area. That's it, the service process designed by the firm. But your experience become memorable not only because of what the hotel prepared. Another guest arising at night without sunlight may they feel differently, maybe just nice but not emotionally special like you. So even though the service setup is the same, sensory conditional and personal perception make each person experience it differently. For the sensory experience, engage one or more of the senses to create in the service process, and it impact how customers feel, think, and remember the service or brand. It is closely related to aesthetic of the brand. The aesthetic is the output of sensory marketing that contribute to brand identity. It's about the image and the overall feel of the brand to customer. The experience contribute to customer value and to the brand as image. As shown in the chart, the 5 senses overlap rather to work than work separately. The overall sensory experience lie in the intersection, meaning customer perceive the brand holistically through the combined effect of multiple senses. So for the sensory strategy, is explained as the sensory cue intentionally used in the service process to create this great sensory experience, and is broken into 5 strategies by firm. Visual strategy, use sight to create recognition, emotion, and identity. Focus on the design, color, logo, store, layout, and digital appearance. For example, Apple used minimalist store design and neutral color and clean product display to communicate innovation and premium identity. The sound strategy, use music, voice, sound to shape the mood of identity. Good sound, enhance experience. Like Night Store often use energetic, motivational music to create a powerful and strong, sporty brand feeling. For smelling strategy, scents affect emotion and memory. That good scent help customer remember the brand. Like Trung Nguyên let the strong smell of freshly roasted coffee spread throughout the store, which rich aroma create warmth, stimulate appetite, and make the customer emotionally connect with the coffee culture. And touch strategy, engage the sense of touch through material, temperature, and texture that help customer feel and emotionally connected. Like IKEA encourage customer to sit, lie down, and touch the furniture to help being physically experience comfort before buying. And taste strategy, taste include inner, like gastronomic taste, and outer state, like aesthetic, combining food quality and other sensory cue to express the brand identity. Like Haagen-Dazs use rich, creamy flavor to create a premium taste experience that help customer associate the brand with luxury and indulgence. So, in conclusion, the sensory marketing is not about stimulating each sense separately. As in the model, it's about how service process and sensory strategy activate the 5 human senses, which then create sensation and sensory cue. These cues combine to form a multi-sensory brand experience, and that experience ultimately shape customer value, customer experience, and brand as image. So the key takeaway of chapter 1 is sensory marketing is the strategic process. Firm intentionally design sensory stimuli with the service process to create a unified and holistic experience. This experience builds brand meaning, emotional connection, and long-term value. Next, we're coming to the chapter 2, the sensory brand. So how the brand actually work in a sensory marketing context, the gesture perspective. The logical theory say that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. People don't exercise alone, but just look at the detail alone. Instead, they use the brand to connect and organize the part together in the full and meaningful experience. So the key here is, in marketing, customer don't see, smell, and hear separately. They feel the total experience. For example, Anchor is the woodworking material brand in Vietnam. So you can see in the picture here, we don't just notice the wood only. We experience the whole wood material room, how everything fits, like color, design, lighting, and layout. So therefore, total sensory experience become a mental image. This image lives in your memory and feeling, and even if the customer don't consciously realize it, Anchor can realize it's a cozy, smart, modern, and premium home idea. So in this context, the brand functions as a black box. We can observe sensory inputs and behavioral output. but we cannot directly see the internal psychological process that connect them. So next we'll discuss how the brain performs as a black box. So when we talk about the brain as a black box, we mean that we cannot directly observe what happened inside it. We only see the stimulus that enter, the sensory input, and the reaction that come out, like thought, feeling, and behavior. So the brain operates through both conscious and unconscious process. However, most processing happens unconsciously. The unconscious process strongly shape how individuals view the identity, experience emotion, and interpret multisensory stimuli from the brain. To better understand how the brain works, we need to understand the internal structure of this black box. So the human brain can be explained through three interconnected parts: the cerebrum, responsible for rational thinking, analysis, and decision making; the limbic system, responsible for emotion, memory, and attachment; the reptilian brain, responsible for instinct, survival, and automatic reaction. These three systems work together to influence how we think, feel, and behave, especially in response to sensory marketing. Let's discover the function of each part. The cerebrum is the largest and smartest part of the brain. It is responsible for thinking, language, logic, learning, and decision making. This is where conscious processing takes place, when we actively analyze information and make deliberate choices. Each hemisphere of the cerebrum contains four lobes: the frontal lobe, responsible for planning and reasoning; the parietal lobe, which processes sensation and movement; the temporal lobe, involved in hearing and memory; the occipital lobe, which handles vision. So we can see that the cerebrum also has two hemispheres. The left hemisphere is associated with logic, language, and analytical thinking. The right hemisphere is linked to creativity, emotion, sensitivity, and visual perception. These two sides constantly communicate and complement each other. So for example, when we're choosing between two smartphones, you become spec, price, and feature. This activates the logical left side. But if you prefer one phone because its sleek design, look premium, and feel attractive, that's your right hemisphere responding to visual and emotional appeal. So in consumer behavior, both logic and emotion work together in the cerebrum. The limbic system is known as the emotional center of the brain. It controls feeling, memory, and motivation, and most of its process happen unconsciously. It also decides which sensory experiences are important based on our past experience. The limbic system includes the amygdala, which handles the emotional reaction, such as fear, joy, excitement; the hippocampus, which stores and recalls memory; the hypothalamus, which regulates basic bodily needs like hunger, thirst, and comfort. For example, when a brand shows a heartwarming advertisement about family, you may feel emotional connected. The amygdala processes that positive emotion, and hippocampus may link it to your own family memory. This is why emotional marketing can be so powerful. It activates the limbic system and creates deeper attachment to the brand. So reptilian brain is the most primitive part of the brain. It controls instinct, survival, and automatic body function. This part reacts very quickly and automatically based on visual cue and gut feeling, rather than logical analysis. It prefers image over word and experience over detail fact. The reptilian brain includes the cerebellum, which controls body movement, balance, and muscle coordination, and the brainstem, which regulates vital reflexes such as breathing, heart rate, and basic survival function. So in consumer behavior, the reptilian brain influences quick, instinctive reactions such as feeling immediately attracted to a bold color, a strong visual display, or a simple and clear message. So while the cerebrum think and the limbic system feel, the reptilian brain reacts instinctively, often shaping our first impression of a brand. For example, when you see a big red 50% off sign, you immediately feel urgency and walk into the store before even thinking logically. That's the reptilian brain reacting to a survival cue, like saving money. The cerebrum is responsible for receiving and processing all sensory information. When we see, hear, smell, touch, or taste something, the sensory signals are sent to the cerebrum. The cerebrum then interprets these signals and transforms them into conscious perception, what we are aware of, and from this into conscious action and behavior. Within the cerebrum, some areas are responsible for motor function, controlling movement, while others are specialized sensory areas that process different types of sensory input. For example, the occipital lobe processes visual information, while the temporal lobe processes sound. So the cerebrum acts as the main processing center that turns raw sensory input into meaningful experience and intentional behavior. About the five main senses give us input, we receive information from the external world through seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting. This sensory input continuously enter the brain and influence our cognition, emotion, and behavior. So, however, sensory input is not the same as perception. Perception is the brain interpretation of that input. This is how the brain reads meanings to what we sense. That is why different people can perceive the same stimulus differently. For example, a couple taste the same dish. One say it's delicious, the other say it's too salty. That sensory input the same, but the perception is different because perception depends on past experience, expectation, emotional, and individual difference. So this shows that in marketing, it's not just about what customers sense, but how they interpret it. The perceptual process begins when we external stimuli such as sight, sound, smell enter the environment. These stimuli are detected by our sensory receptor, creating an immediate physiological reaction known as sensation. However, because we cannot process everything all at once, the mind applies attention as a filtering mechanism, selecting only the most relevant or striking stimuli. The selected information then moves to the interperception, where the brain assigns meaning based on past experience, memory, and expectation. Once meaning brain assigned is formed, it triggers a response. This can emotional, like king or discomfort, or behavioral, like approaching, leaving, or purchasing. The final result of this entire sequence is perception, the overall mental picture or impression the individual form about the brand or product. For example, you walk past a cafe and smell freshly brewed coffee. It reminds you of relaxing weekend, so you feel warm and comfortable. Without thinking too much, you decide to work in that moment. You already perceive the cafe as a cozy and high quality store. To understand how brands stay in consumer mind, we need to understand how memory works. Memory has three main states that work together: sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. So sensory memory is the first step, like when you see, hear, smell, touch, the information is stored for just a few seconds. The brain quickly decides, is it important, or should I keep or ignore it? If the stimulus is emotionally strong, surprising, or meaningful, it stays longer. If it's too weak, it may not even reach the awareness. This is called the absolute sensory threshold. We also pay attention to what matches our interest, like perceptual alertness, and ignore what we don't care about, like perceptual defense. So brain must break through this state to even be noticed. So now this information will move into short-term memory. This is where conscious thinking happens, analyzing, comparing, and evaluating. Like for example, your friends tell you the Wi-Fi password, coffee 2024, you repeat it in your head until you type it, and then you will forget it. Short-term memory has limited capacity. To help manage this limit, the brain uses chunking, that grouping information into meaningful units, and also serial position effect, like you will remember the first and the last item better than the middle ones. This is why simple, clear message for the brain to work better. So for long-term memory, if your information is meaningful enough, it moves into long-term memory. This memory has unlimited capacity and store experience permanently. There's two types: episodic memory and semantic memory. Episodic means personal experience, and semantic means the fact and the knowledge. For example, you remember watching a Coca-Cola Christmas ad with your friend, your family, because this is episodic memory. And another thing, you know Coca-Cola is a soft drink. It's the semantic memory. When shopping, both types influence your decision too. For example, of the memory for the brand. So first, at a sensory stage, you work into a sportswear brand at a mall. You notice bright light and energetic music, and a mannequin wearing a bold new running outfit. Your brain registers these stimuli for a few seconds. Then, in the short-term memory stage, you start to look closer. You read the sign ultra-light performance fabric, 20% up. You start thinking, is it good to be for your workout? You evaluate the material, the price, and whether you need a new sportswear. And finally, in a long-term memory, day later, you see the same brand online. You remember how the outfit looks stylish and how the fabric feels comfortable when you fit it in a store of last day. And that memory influences your decision to buy it. So is there any difference between the male and female brand? First, it starts with the genetic code. One gene and hormone shape the brand from before birth. Hormones like testosterone and estrogen influence how the brand develops. Different hormone level can create some structure and functional difference between male and female brand. Dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter related to motivation and reward, may also work slightly differently. It can influence behavior and how tasks are performed. As a result, we may see some difference in tendency or task performance between male and female. However, they are general pattern, not strict rule or for every individual. So let's discuss about the organizational difference between two. About the brand size, male brands are 9 to 12% larger than female brand, and mostly because men have bigger body. So the men mostly use the left brand for languages, while women use both sides. So the language strength is like girl learn word earlier, have better vocabulary expression than boy. For the mental rotation, men are better at visualizing objects from different angles, unlike women. For example, men usually good at geometric math than girls, for example. So about female brand has intertwined communication between the left and the right side. So women better at expressing emotion, understanding other feeling. For about thinking style, women more empathetic, men are more systematic, and women value emotional connection and eye contact, face-to-face talking, and men prefer less direct, more distant communication. Women better at reading body language, facial expression like higher EI, visual sense, like women have stronger visual memory, better night vision, remember color and visual detail better than men. So about hearing and smell, women are more sensitive to sound, music affect their brain differently, and women can detect and recognize smell better than men. And women are more sensitive to touch and feel pain more intensely. And about men, men often make quick and irrational decisions, while women want more information and compare the options. And for the shopping behavior, women take more time in store, exploring options. Men rush to want to live quickly. So men it easier to convince them to buy fast. Men like they focus on instrumental factor. Women focus on extrinsic factor. For example, when buying a family car, a man care about the engine power. A maid focus on safety and comfort. The last part here is the neuromarketing. So what's in neuromarketing? This is study about how our brand react to product ads and brand that can impact to our product choice and purchasing decision. To use some technique to look at how our brand receive and process things with sense in the marketing context. And neuromarketing study how emotion and social cue push people to choose certain product. And modern neuromarketing use tools like brand scan to visualize what's happening in the brand. So overall, it helps the marketer see the real impact of ads and packaging. So for the neurophysiological technique is EEG, MEG, fMRI. So we will discuss the three types of method that neuromarketing use. EEG, it will measure the brain wave like electrical activity when you see or hear things. So the process is can fast record brain activity thousands of times per second, but the cons, it cannot show exactly where reaction happened. For MEG, it will measure the magnetic field created by the brain activity, and the advantage here is more accurate at locating brain reaction, but the disadvantage here cannot scan deep brain area. The last one, fMRI, it will use a scanner to detect blood flow and oxygen in the brain. The pros, it high detail, show where and low the brain reaction, emotional and cognitively. The cons, it's lower and more expensive. So we come into the benefit and drawback of them. Benefit first, we can understand the real emotional and thought to help the marketer see how people really feel about a product or brand. Next, we'll review the brand reaction to the sense, how people react to the sound, color, smell, etc. more accurately. More accurately, traditional method like give a clearer insight than just asking questions like traditional method and help the brand to improve the communication. But for the drawback, we have two drawback, risk of manipulation and ethical concern. Company might secretly use brand knowledge to trick people into buying more, and also using brand data without consent can invade people's privacy. So for the drawback, we have three, risk of manipulation, ethical concern, and concern about the overconsumption. So company might secretly use brand knowledge to trick people into buying more, and using brand data without consent can invade people's privacy. And also the last thing, encouraging more buying through brand targeted, the ads may increase the waste